Okay. So thank you everyone for joining us today for our webinar in the new 4910 series. We will have a 20-minute overview of the product, detailed technical overview presented by Steve Vorez. Then we'll go into a 20-minute Q&A session, followed by anybody that has a question. If you do have a question during the presentation, please feel free to raise your hand or type it into the chat box. During the presentation, if we do have a couple questions, we'll stop and answer those, but we'd like to wait to the end of the presentation for any questions that you might have. So without further ado, this will be a short, fast-paced 20-minute overview plus the 20-minute Q&A. So I'd like to hand it over to our CEO, Rob Martin. Rob?
Thank you, thank you. Welcome to this new virtual normal from wherever you are in the world. Thanks for connecting with Suntech. We've got a team here in the U.S. based out of Southern California. Suntech is a Korean-based hardware manufacturer. Been in business about 20 years and leader in Latin America. And this is the team you see on the screen that has started to expand into the U.S. and Canadian markets as well. We've got over 100 years of combined experience. We got your back. We're glad you're here today to hear about our latest products. Go to the next slide. We've got over 3 million devices that Suntech has shipped around the world. We've got a lot of experience in these areas, and Suntech has become to have a reputation as being the custom telematics provider. We can help you support products for many different markets and many different applications. We've been in the U.S. since 2018 and in beautiful Carlsbad, which is the epicenter of telematics for North America in San Diego. Hardware is sourced here and tested here, and we do custom applications for any of your particular business needs. We are a hardware-only manufacturer where we don't compete against different platforms. In fact, we encourage as many platforms as possible to integrate with our products. We try to have a universal protocol and tools so you can access the information online using the latest technology. We've got the latest new product right here is a 4910, and I want to turn it over to our Vice President for Business Development, an engineer that can speak much more fluently and efficiently about this wonderful product than I can. Before we turn it over to Steve, I'll just say this is just one in our latest line. We have for kind of IoT support where it's related to asset tracking. This seems to be an important thing, especially where a lot of us are working remotely and we need to be able to know what's going on out there in the field. So we're really excited about this new product. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Vorez.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you. Thanks everybody for getting up early this morning and joining us for our latest webinar. I'm really excited today. We've got this great new device. It's really a game changer. We've all seen those tiny GPS trackers that seem to last for a few days or a week or 2 weeks, and then you need to recharge the batteries. Well, for a lot of applications, that's not really appropriate. So the device that we've got today, the 4910 or the 4910 series, is really a game changer. Now, why do I say it's a game changer? Well, if you remember one thing, only one thing from this webinar, you want to remember this. You may buy this device and you may never, ever need to replace your batteries again. This device has the ability to run for 10 years, 10 continuous years, with pings up to 3 times a day. So you can mount this device on a slow-moving asset or a seldom-moving asset or a truck that you need to check in 2 or 3 times a day. And you can check in and you may never need to replace the batteries. After 10 years, your carrier may go away or you may have sold the truck. So the 10-year battery life really goes above and beyond what our competition is doing. So this device is really unique. It provides LTE Cat M1 coverage with 2G fallback. A really unique kind of battery technology that we're using. Instead of rechargeable batteries, we're using a lithium thionyl chloride battery. And this battery pack inside the device, shown here, it's essentially 3 very, very long life D-sized lithium thionyl batteries. These batteries are unique in that they will last 20 years just sitting on the shelf. And in our device, we are measuring and doing engineering studies, and we're getting in excess of 10 years of battery life at 3 pings per day. So what does that mean to you? It means you can install this device and essentially forget about replacing the batteries. The device, of course, like all the Suntech GPS devices, includes a GPS tracker, a very high sensitivity GPS tracker. So this lets you put the device underneath a truck or underneath the dashboard or hidden behind some packages inside the trailer. It does not need to be mounted on top of the truck, but instead it can be mounted hidden inside the truck. The firmware on a device gets upgraded over the air. So 2, 3, 4 years from now, maybe you want to change your programming interval or your ping interval, or maybe you want to update the accelerometer sensors. We can upgrade that and upgrade the firmware over the air. The device is very, very waterproof. It's IP67 waterproof. So we've got a rubber gasket and 4 screws hold on the end cap, and that makes the device waterproof. So you can hose it down with a high pressure water hose out in the field. So it's water resistant, salt water resistant, vibration resistant. The device is designed to be very rugged, and it meets the SAE 1455 standard for vibration resistance. The device is in a very, very durable plastic case. This can generally be driven over by a truck and survive that kind of impact. Fall resistant, baseball resistant, baseball bat resistant, vandalism resistant, and it comes in a relatively nondescript case. So there's nothing on the outside of the box that says, this is a GPS tracker. Please disable it if you're a thief. So this device just gets mounted and it's very rugged. We constantly give you a low battery alert and a battery status update. So if you're using it out in the field and after a certain number of years at a high ping rate, this device will give you lots of advanced warning that the batteries need to be updated. In addition, the bottom of the device comes with 4 mounting holes. The 4 mounting holes are making it very easy for you to mount little magnetic mounting feet that are part of our accessory kit. And the magnetic feet allow this to be a slap and track device where you can slap it onto the outside of any magnetic case, any steel truck or yellow iron, any heavy iron equipment. So it's very rugged, very durable, well thought out. It's got a 3-axis accelerometer, which can be used to detect motion, and it can also be used to detect high impact, like a car accident, or it being dropped, or it being vandalized. In addition, this is the 4910 device in my hand. In addition, in November, we're coming out with the 4910B device. This B device will add a number of options, such as Wi-Fi geolocation, temperature and humidity detection. So you can detect temperature extremes or humidity extremes. These devices can be mounted or installed inside a cardboard box with pharmaceuticals or cannabis or food products, and it can detect humidity extremes and temperature extremes. There's also a barometer option available. We provide a free of charge maintenance server, and the maintenance server allows you to constantly update the device with over-the-air software updates. In addition, we're adding a Bluetooth or a BLE sensor, and the BLE sensor allows this device to be able to communicate to external Bluetooth tags. So if you've got a Bluetooth proximity sensor and you want to know if this device is near a number of Bluetooth tags, well, this device will read the Bluetooth tags and read up to 100 of those tags in close proximity to this device and report that information up to the cloud. The battery is very easy to install and remove. It's just got a tiny JST plug that plugs into the circuit board. And then 4 standard screws get mounted on the end cap, and that installs the battery inside the device. All right, let me know if you have any questions, and we'll go on to the next slide. So what are you seeing? Deja vu, are you seeing something familiar? Well, yes, this is designed to look familiar. It's designed to look like our competitor's device that costs twice as much and has half the battery life. So this device has half price and twice the battery life of the competitors. So it may look very familiar to those of you that are buying telematics devices from other California-based amplifier companies. Next slide.
Steve, if we can just stop there for a second, I think we have our first question.
Yes.
And Daria, I apologize if I misspoke your name. Or can you hear us on the webinar?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we sure can. Sorry for if I misspelled your name, but you had a question for the team?
Yeah, Bruce Carucci, Gentrified GPS. Hi, if we go down to 2 pings a day, do I increase the life expectancy by a third or whatever?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the battery has a shelf life or a maximum life of 15 years. So at 3 pings a day, we expect 10 years of solid guaranteed battery life. As you go to 2 pings a day, we would expect a longer battery life, but it's tough for us to predict what's going to happen after 10 years.
Okay.
If you go to more frequent pings, let's say you want to ping once every 2 hours, then you're going to get like a 4-year battery life. If you want to ping once every hour, then you're going to get about a 2-year battery life.
So it's like a linear equation, pretty much. What you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks. That's all I needed to know. Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you. Steve, why don't we just stop there because I think we have a couple more questions. Let's see. Bill Boyles, are you able to hear us out there?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We sure can. Why don't you go ahead with your question?
Just a clarification for me. When you say ping, that is actually a message going towards the device to get its location versus an update, 3 updates a day. So it's 3 pings a day looking for the device versus 3 updates, scheduled updates a day.
No, in this case, the device is normally asleep and it wakes up on a timer. And when the timer, the alarm clock goes off, it wakes up, it turns on the GPS receiver, calculates its location,
Okay.
and then sends its location up to the cloud.
So it's scheduled updates. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
In addition, the device will automatically wake itself up if it's moving. So if it's normally parked, it can be programmed to wake itself up when it starts moving, or it can wake itself up if there's a temperature or humidity extreme.
Then can you do a ping?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So Steve, I think we have a couple more questions. I think this is a good time to stop for a second. Jim Williams, it looks like you raised your hand. I unmuted you. You're able to hear us?
You
Jim,
hear
are you
me?
there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Apparently, I had to push an unmute button. So, my understanding of this battery chemistry is that it doesn't change voltage all the way until failure. So once you reach your maximum number of pings, it just stops working. And I wondered how you measured battery life when it's not a decline in voltage. And then the other question, was based on my understanding of this battery chemistry from your friends in Carlsbad, California, is that the battery life varies extensively with temperature, and it does much better in warmer climates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jim, those are excellent questions. And you've obviously done your homework for lithium thionyl chloride batteries. Yes, we have not changed the battery chemistry. We've not invented a new battery like Elon Musk, but we are using a well-proven lithium thionyl chloride battery. These batteries have been around in military applications for about 40 years. You're correct. We do not use battery voltage solely as the indicator of battery life. We have a high resolution analog to digital conversion, A to D converter, or voltmeter, you might call it. So we can measure very, very, very subtle battery voltage changes. More importantly, we've got a Coulomb counter. And the Coulomb counter basically counts how many times the device has transmitted in the past. And we keep track of that number of transmissions. We designed this device to transmit 20,000 transmissions. So by tracking the number of transmissions, we will be able to calculate with a degree of accuracy how many transmissions are left, how many transmissions are available left. So we can calculate the total number of coulombs or watt hours within the battery. We calculate the voltage. And if you buy the 4910B device, we actually calculate or measure the temperature. And we can uprate or downrate the battery life based on the average temperature that's recorded by the temperature sensor. So hopefully that helps a little bit.
Well, you've definitely solved the problem that your competitors never did. The one concern I have is that I'm always nervous about black telematics devices because black absorbs a lot of heat and these modem sensors are sensitive to temperature.
Yes, that's a very good point. So the device that you're seeing on the screen looks black, but it's actually a beautiful shade of gray. Our engineers have looked at the black, and Jim, they agree with you. A dark, solid black does tend to absorb a lot of sunlight heat, sunlight energy. So they've shifted it over to a shade of gray that unfortunately on this presentation doesn't really show up very well, the shade of gray. We've also built some white units, which would reflect a lot of sunlight. The downside we found in the white units was that they get a little discolored from stains, dust and dirt and grease. So aesthetically, they're not quite so pleasing. But if you've got an application where you need a white device instead of a gray device, we're Suntech, we're the custom telematics company, and we can build a custom color for you if needed.
Well, I'm very excited about the Bluetooth capability too. Do you think that that will dramatically change the battery life?
Yes, so the Bluetooth sensor will typically wake up for a period of time. So it depends on how often you want to capture that Bluetooth data. If you only want to capture that Bluetooth data once or twice a day, then we'll still get the 10-year battery life. However, if you want to perhaps capture Bluetooth data once every hour, then our battery life will correspondingly shrink to a few years of battery life per battery install. So I'm not sure if that answers your question. The Bluetooth receiver is normally asleep, and it only wakes up on the alarm clock. And then we read the proximity or temperature data from the Bluetooth tags that are in the area. And then we log that, send that data up to the cloud, and then we put the device back to sleep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Steve, we got quite a bit of questions here, so I just want to stop for a moment and maybe we can go
questions.
through.
I love
Good
questions.
The first one, let's go to the Q&A section. Steve from Randy Young, is there a recommended mobile app that works with this device?
Yeah, hi Randy. So we're Suntech, we are a hardware only manufacturer. As such, we work with over a dozen different mobile app and platform providers. Wylon Gerdum is a very popular one. We often use Wylon Gerdum for our demo platforms. We work with Position Logic and a number of other providers, Core Position Logic, for instance. And they do have a number of mobile apps that can be used to read the location and read the temperature of these devices. So yes, after this presentation, send me an email and we can set you up with a number of different platform providers.
Great, thanks, Steve. Also, Eddie Stevens, if you're out there, I'm going to get you off of unmute. See you that your hand is raised and also you're in the Q&A session. Eddie, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Thank you very much.
Yep. Hi, Eddie.
Hi, Jim. Hi, Steve. Steve, the question is, can you program this device, I guess it's probably all Suntech, with a specified ping time?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep. So we provide a free of charge maintenance server called Scooty. And the maintenance server enables the owner of the device to update the software usually once a day on this device. So you might first install the device and have it ping twice a day. And then you decide, well, I'd really like to have it ping once every 2 hours. Yes, the device is normally equipped to be updated with that. Or you might decide to only have it transmit only when it's moved. So lots of these devices may be sitting out in the desert for years and years and years, and you don't need to transmit once per hour. You might only want it to transmit once every 8 hours when the truck moves or when the truck stops moving.
Yeah, what I was asking was, let's say when you initially script the device, can you have it send its once a day heartbeat at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time?
This device, I don't believe, has a real-time clock. I believe this device is equipped with a 24-hour interval clock. So I think the way that this device was designed to have ultra-low power consumption is it does not know the time of day, but rather it knows a 24-hour interval.
Okay, so it's the only way to get it to do that is that you literally have to script the thing at 11 p.m. and then have it go to sleep and then set the internal timer to 24 hours. Is that how it works?
Yes, you can certainly do that. Yep.
All right. Okay, that sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Eddie. I think, Steve, we got one more. I'd like to go to Rob Hessman, if you're out there. Rob, let me know if you're unmuted. Can you hear us?
Yes, thank you. Question on provisioning. I know when I provisioned the 4940B, it's a little bit tricky to get the provisioning cable down in there. How do you provision this one with the cable?
So here's the device. I opened up the device while you were talking, and the transmitter printed circuit board slides nicely out from the case, and it's got a micro USB. I can show it to you. Yeah, I think
that's going to be really easy.
Yeah. So it plugs into a standard micro USB cable, and you just provision it and away you go. Now, Robert, the best way in the world to provision this device is don't, but rather you write a profile, you email it to us, we provision it at the factory for you. We install the battery, we install the SIM, we install the software, we do all that, no charge. Then we build the device, we seal the gasket, we guarantee that it's going to work, we test it, we ship it to you, and then if you want to provision it later over the air, make a modification for your provisioning, you do that using software over the air.
Beautiful.
So
One other question regarding the humidity, temperature, and Bluetooth capability. All three of those components you mentioned are going to be available when? Did you say December?
November. So the 4910B, B is in Bravo, that version, we're we're running all our tests on it now, and we're doing our firmware updates on that now. So we will be shipping out a few samples in October, and then it'll be a full release in November.
Okay, super. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Steve. Why don't we move on with the presentation, and then we'll get the rest of the questions at the end. So Steve, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, all right. So deja vu, you're not seeing double, you're seeing half off. The amazing thing about this device is it's about half the price of the competitor product. The battery life is better than twice the battery life of the competitor product. So our marketing guys came up with this genius deja vu slogan. Next slide. Yep, very good. So what's unique about this device? Well, this device is going to run standard with 10-year battery life. So 10 years of battery life, whether it's the 4910, it's just monitoring the GPS location, or if you're adding some of the features such as temperature, pressure, humidity, or light detection. The light detection, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. We've got a little electric eye window, a waterproof window in here. So you can put this in a truck, and if somebody opens the truck door and shines a flashlight on it, this is going to send an alarm back up to the server. Or let's say you've got a cardboard container and it's full of valuable electronics, and somebody opens up the cardboard container, this will automatically send an alarm saying that the container's been opened and it sees light. Or if it's in a hurricane condition and there's water seeping into a container, you're going to get a water sensor, humidity sensor, temperature sensor. You can use it to log average temperature throughout the 10 years lifespan of the device. So on this chart, we're showing 3 devices, very similar devices, but some are better than others. The Suntech devices have a 10-year battery life. The CalAmp device, they hope to get maybe some days up to 7 years of battery life. All the devices provide a very rugged 3-axis accelerometer. Certainly they're waterproof, IP67. IP67 means that you can submerge the device underwater. You can hose it down. It's very rugged. The device is designed to meet the Society of Automotive Engineers rugged standard. So the SAE 1455 standard for ruggedness and durability. The device operates on the very low energy Cat M1 network. So this is a 4G network device. It's not going to be sunset for many decades in the future. So the device runs on the Cat M1 network. The Cat M1 network enables us to get more distance to the cellular tower than the traditional 3G or 4G devices. The Cat M1 device enables us to get better coverage when we're in a parking garage or parked inside a building. So we get better range, better signal to noise ratio, and better cellular coverage. And let's talk price. Price is certainly important. So in reasonable volume prices, this device is 75 bucks. Is that half of what CalAmp charges? No, it's less than half of what CalAmp charges. So 75 bucks, or the fully featured with all the sensors, about $84 is the price on this device. The battery pack that CalAmp sells to replace for their CalAmp TTU730, their battery pack costs more than our Suntech 4910. So just the cost for the battery of our competitor, they're charging more than we're charging for the entire device, with the battery installed, with the SIM installed, with the software installed, and sealed up with a 2-year warranty. So any questions on this slide?
Yeah, let's Steve, if you got, let's take a couple of moments because we've got quite a few questions.
Right.
First, let's go to the Q&A section from Raul from Fleet Hunt. Steve, are we getting better? Are we getting battery percentage with raw data so we can convert it to battery percentage like other devices on our platform and app?
I'm not quite sure what you mean by raw data. The device does have a high resolution A to D converter, so it records the battery voltage. As Jim Williams correctly pointed out earlier, this chemistry has a fairly flat, a very low slope voltage change. So we monitor the battery voltage, and we also monitor the total number of transmissions. And in doing so, we compute the remaining battery life based on that.
Okay,
Raul, I took you off mute. Can you hear us?
yeah, it's good. So anyways, like you're saying, you are monitoring all the data from the device. So we are able to get that data and we can show them on our server. So some companies are doing it like we are doing with other devices, those are the battery, and we are giving the battery percentage on our server. So same way we can convert it in protocol document or somewhere the documentation is available.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And one more question about the CAT M1.
Yes.
Like in Canada, the Saskatchewan province has no CAT M1 coverage. Like my CAT M1 is not working in Saskatchewan. So this device has the capability to fall back on 4G or 3G when they enter in Saskatchewan.
No. This device has 2G fallback. So this device has 3 modes, CAT M1 or narrowband IoT or 2G for the fallback. But this device is specifically not a 3G device. We recognize the sunsetting of 3G in the United States. And so we did not want to have the added cost of a 3G modem in this device.
Okay, so this device not gonna work in where there is no CAT M1 coverage, right?
Correct. This device requires either CAT M1 or narrowband IoT or 2G.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Great, thank you, Raul. Going back to the Q&A session, Randy, you had a question a little bit earlier. I took you off mute. Randy, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
sure can. Can you go ahead with your question?
Sure. I typed it out in the Q&A, and it has to do with the accuracy of the location reporting when the device is inside a tractor trailer in the trailer part, and then maybe it's even inside a container inside that trailer. And for the current version, what would be the location accuracy for the reporting?
Yes. So the current version, we are speccing a 2.5 meter accuracy based on the GPS receiver. I like to use the number 3 meters or 10 feet. as the normal accuracy. That's when you have a good view of the satellite. This device has a higher sensitivity GPS receiver than normal, or we have a higher sensitivity GPS receiver than our competition. So with a weak GPS signal, we still get a very high degree of precision, or HDOP. So the HDOP is the specification for GPS degree of precision. So we're typically seeing a few meters of accuracy. In addition, if you are completely without GPS reception, let's say you're in a container or you're underground, we also offer the Wi-Fi capability, where the Wi-Fi capability allows the device to sniff Wi-Fi SSID signals, basically the MAC address of a Wi-Fi device. And then that sends that data up to the cloud. And then we have a lookup table that allows you to look up what Wi-Fi signals you're seeing and compute your location based on that.
I'm on a conference call.
And that's with the next version of the device in November.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Steve, why don't we go ahead? I think we have a couple more questions. I know that we're getting into the presentations. Bruce, it looks like you had another question in the Q&A session. Do you have a listener built out, or do we need to build our own, and how many bytes are in each packet? And Bruce, let me take you off of
I do need to get a copy of it.
Oh.
You could scan it and email it to me.
Hold
and
on
I
for
also need the
1
last
second.
blood work copy.
Mute Jim. There we go. Yeah, sorry about that. And
yeah, we'll send Jim a copy.
And Bruce, can you hear us? Bruce?
Yes, sounded like Bruce was looking for a listener, and he wanted to know the number of bytes per packet. A traditional packet unit using our universal protocol is about 180 bytes of data. So 180 bytes of data, if you're sending that 5 times a day, that would be 1 kilobyte of data per day, or 30 kilobytes of data per month. You're going to make the AT&T people very sad, because you're not using a lot of their data. So 180 bytes of data per message, a kilobyte per day, 30 kilobytes per month is a typical number for this device. The other question was, do we have a listener? Yes, Wylon Girdham and a number of other vendors provide commercial platform listeners. We also have some reference software that we can provide. It's really dirt simple. This device broadcasts a packet, and that packet of data can be ASCII or hexadecimal. When we send it in ASCII, it comes out as a human readable format where you can read the bytes of data, and you can literally read them when it shows up on your computer, and you can decode that as your latitude, longitude, altitude, and battery voltage.
Bruce, I think are able to talk. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that that does answer it. I guess yeah, sure. I mean, we have lots of listeners, and we build them ourselves, and we have a whole platform, of course, like I'm sure just about everybody on the call. I guess we were just wondering if maybe you had a listener built in, maybe like a Java that you just have as part of your toolkit. That we could just use that as a starting point. An actual listener in Java with the code already built out.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's easy. I know it's not that difficult. Just wondering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do have some example code, and why don't you set up a meeting with JJ after this call, and we can get together with our field apps engineer and walk you through using that.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
Okay, we still have quite a few questions, but I'd like to just get through the remaining slides, and then we can open it up for a Q&A session. So,
All right.
Steve, do you want this slide or the next one?
Yeah, let's go to the next slide. All right, so here's kind of the summary slide. The most important thing generally about these trackers is what's the battery life? How often do you have to go out in the field and swap out batteries? So we're giving you 10 years. Probably the life of the asset that you're tracking is probably less than 10 years. 3 pings per day. That can be triggered by temperature, that can be triggered by motion, or that can be triggered by an alarm clock. We've got the simple, low-cost 4910 available for 75 bucks, or the more complex version with a suite of sensors. And the sensors would be temperature, humidity, barometric pressure, light, and Bluetooth sensing and Wi-Fi sensing. Certification, these devices are fully certified today with Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile and Bell are coming up shortly. And we have no issues with getting them certified with other carriers. We have Industry of Canada and United States approval, and we'll be offering this in Europe later this year. Next slide. All right, so it's a great device. We've got a team of FAEs ready and willing to support you on your use case. We are offering this device as a 60-day free trial. So you can call up our sales guys and get a sample device. We have some AT&T SIMs available to install, and we can configure a profile, and you can give it a test, or better yet, just go out and buy 1,000 of them. That's what we really like to do. Again, we're Suntech. We are a custom telematics company. We're not in business to sell to big box stores one at a time, but rather we sell in high volume. We're a very well-known telematics company. We've got a long history of providing reliable, cost-effective devices. So we look forward to hearing from you, and I'll turn it back over to JJ.
Great, thanks, Steve. We have quite a few questions, and if you do have a question, either go and raise your hand or put it in the Q&A section. Let's start off out there from Orbit. Robert Hessman, you were very patient having your hand raised. Robert, did we answer all your questions?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. And let's see, Eddie Stevens, you were still in the Q&A section, and I think you're off of mute right now. Can you hear us?
Yes. Eddie was asking, do we close the session with the carrier or leave it open? We generally close the session with the carrier.
Okay, so here's my question. And it really applies to basically all Suntech products. In Canada, if we close the session, we get a 1 kilobit roundup. If we leave the session open, we don't get that roundup. We only get it once every 24 hours.
All right. So you are saying that you would like the option of being able to leave the session open with the carrier?
That is correct.
Okay. Yeah, we don't normally do that with our ultra-low battery power devices, but we can talk to our FAE about that, and we could probably...
Yeah, for this item, it's probably not an issue, because if you're only sending 1 ping a day, it doesn't matter. But
Right.
it's on the other items where, let's say you're sending 100 to 300 pings per day, you don't want to close out the session every time, because then you know you're right away going to be at 300 kilobytes a day.
Right.
So on the, I mean, I guess this is sort of on the other products. Does it close on the other products, or after each packet is sent, or does it leave it open?
You've got that option. You can leave it open or you can close that. So that's determined by the firmware that handshakes with the carrier, and you can configure it to leave the session open or to close it out. Normally we close it out, but if you've got a data usage advantage of leaving the session open, we can configure it to do that.
Does that answer your question, Eddie?
All right, any more questions?
Yep, going back to the Q&A section from Raul, can we schedule ping on moving and stop with fixed pings a day?
Yes, Raul, we program this device to transmit at one interval when it's moving and a different interval when it's stopped. So you get your choice. You might have it transmit once every 5 minutes while it's moving and once every 5 hours when it's stopped moving. That's fully programmable, and you can update that number when it's out in the field using an over-the-air update.
Okay, so my question was also added like a few things. Like once we install this device on any vehicle or trailer, so I want like when it started moving from stationary, it sends a ping. Then after that it sleeps, or and then it give regular interval 6 hours even while it's moving or stop, doesn't matter. And one stopped, and it also give one data and sleep. Is it, or you're saying like other devices which we do on moving is 5 minutes, but on stop it's 6 hours? Just on motion sensor, I need a, I'm think only on motion, like when it start and stop, it can give ping.
Yes, I think I understand your question. You wanted to ping when it starts moving, and then when you no longer see motion for a period of time, and it's
Yes.
up to you to define what that period of time is, then it will send another motion, a stop of motion
Oh, that's
message.
great. That's
Yes,
great. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, so some really great questions there. Looks
Yeah.
like, let's see, from Anonymous. Do you have SIMs that you provide if you are doing the provisioning, or do we need to send you SIMs? Great question. I'll let you answer it, Steve.
Yes, we do have some sample SIMs in-house. We generally recommend that people provide us SIMs that they plan on using, just to make sure that the compatibility with their MVNO is complete. So we recommend that you send us your SIMs, and we will install them. We will install the software. We will test it and ship it to you. If you, for some reason, don't have any SIMs, I do believe we have some sample SIMs available.
Yeah, and Steve, that brings up a really good point that you brought up earlier and Rob brought up earlier, is Suntech is in the business of hardware only. Unlike other companies out there that's looking to sell you SIMs and also platform, we have the ability to be able to get you in contact with other platform providers or SIM providers, but we just want to make your experience with your first demo devices as seamless as possible. So we do offer free AT&T SIMs for your first demo orders, or we can put you in contact with other SIM providers as well. So good question.
Excellent question.
Let's keep on going.
Yeah, Anonymous asks, what's the minimum order quantity? The minimum order quantity generally for something like this, we would like to ship in units of 100 approximately. Again, we are not well suited to send one device, two devices, three devices at a time. We will send one or two samples just for evaluation purpose. But if you're in a low volume buying scenario, you are better off going through one of our distributors. We have a number of excellent distributors that will give you excellent service, and they will probably give you a better price for low volume orders. So I think the minimum order quantity, the answer is there is none if you go through a distributor. But if you're going through Suntech, we generally like to see orders on the order of 100 at a time.
And Anonymous, let us know if that didn't answer your questions. Let's go back to the chat forum. Bill Boyles, I think you had a question. We put you on, get you unmuted there. Bill, can you hear us?
Yes. So Bill, if you use the accelerometer for motion, what is the battery life of the device? And the good news is that is still 10 years. Our 10-year battery life is based on the motion detector, the accelerometer being in its awake and listening mode. So the motion detector while running consumes about 10 microamps of power, and we've calculated that into the 10-year life. So the device will wake itself up when it gets a motion detect, and then it will turn on the transmitter and transmit its location to the background server. So the answer is 10 years, based on 3 pings per day.
Great, thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
And let's go back to the chat section. Well, it looks like we answered everyone's questions. I know that we went a little bit over time from our 20-minute Q&A, but I think the session was very productive for answering a lot of very key questions about the products. As always, the entire Suntech team is here to be able to answer questions for you. Please feel free to reach out to Steve, Rob, or myself. And in addition, we're offering a 60-day demo plan with AT&T Sims with this product. You can either reach out directly to myself or sales at Suntech. Rob, do you have any closing comments before we move forward?
Nope, I just want to thank everybody for spending time with us today in your virtual environment, wherever you are. And Steve, thank you for educating me about coulombs and everything else cool about the sun of Suntech. Talk to y'all later.
As they say, coulombs are cool. All right, thanks everybody. Those were great questions. I was really impressed with the quality and the quantity of questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. That was a great presentation. I'm going to just go through Trent. I think we had a couple of questions earlier. Let me put you on there. Trent, is there any other questions that you might have about the product? And also, can you tell us about any applications that you're thinking of using this for currently?
No additional questions. The comment is, for years I've been using someone else's device that you've had up on the screen there. Obviously trying to see, what's out there in the market, different long-term tracking solutions and things like that. So pretty impressed with what you displayed today.
Yeah, that's great, Trent. This is a very rugged device. I think you'll find it more rugged than the competitor device. The battery pack is a very similar battery to the competitor device, but the electronic circuitry that we use is much more modern and much more frugal with battery power, which gives us a much longer lifespan. We're seeing applications for tracking of cardboard boxes, tracking of vehicles, tracking of shipping containers, or tracking of yellow iron, and also tracking of things like furniture, high-value furniture. It's a discrete gray package, and it just gets mounted on the device, and it looks like it belongs there. So yeah, we look forward to hearing what applications you might come up with.
Well, I guess one add-on question to that, and again, because airline, tracking shipments on an airline has been looking for that wonderful device for years. What sort of fallback does it have from Cat 1? Say if I fly something down to Venezuela, does it have a 3G or 2G fallback?
Yes, it does. It has a 2G fallback.
Okay. Thank you.
Great questions, Trent. We appreciate it. And it does have a great application, a wide base for us to use. And we are looking forward to the next series that'll be launching in December, because it will open up a lot of new sectors for the device to be used. So thank you, Trent, for attending today. Let me go just to a couple of the other attendees. I see there's Matt McAdams out there. Matt, I'm taking you off mute. Is there any other questions that we can answer for you, or any applications that you see that this works for you?
No, you guys got my mind churning here with all kinds of ideas. But yeah, I think it's a great product, and I think it'll be a good fit for our service plan. Telematics is one of the things that we're looking to get into, with our customers, and especially the BLE asset tracking portion of it. So that's exciting to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Matt, for the feedback. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, very good. Thanks.
And last one, Rich Perro out there as well too. Rich, I'll check you off of mute. If there's anything that you'd like to share with the team or any feedback or questions that we can answer, please let us know. Okay. Well, I'm going to say that's no. Everybody, we really appreciate the time today for going through this webinar. I'm going to be following up, as Steve mentioned. We have these devices available for free for 60-day demo. We're not in the business of selling SIMs or software. We're hardware only, but we do have our AT&T SIMs available for demo if you'd like. If you have any questions or anything about Suntech, we're always free to answer questions. We deal from companies from small to large to medium, and we like to be able to use that as our custom telematics platform for any additional questions you may have. So thank you once again for being part of this webinar today. We'll be sending out a video clip of this later, but I will be following up with an email to see if you have any questions that we can answer from the Suntech team. So last round, anybody has any additional questions? Rob or Steve, any additional thoughts?
No, I look forward to hearing from everybody out there. And hope everybody gets a free sample. And I'd love to hear your feedback.
Yep, this is first of a series that's going to be here for IoT. So this is the long life. We're going to have some other devices that are based on this same protocol coming out over the next several months. So it's exciting to see this new IoT series launching. Thanks for everybody for your time today.